So Japan just had its rotation. Towards the end of January, we saw the H or G block cards rotate, and we entered a new format. And in the beginning of this new format, we had the Wild Wild West. There was the most random decks winning events, but as the dust settled and we're kind of getting into that groove of understanding what's good and what's not, we see two decks clearly on top. And one of them is one of my favorite, Dragapult EX. Dragapult EX has so many variants, so many ways you could play the deck, a very, very healthy deck. And the other one is not one I think people were really expecting it to be this high up. I'm sure people are expecting it to be decent, but it is Lucario. Lucario is an arguably BDIF right now, currently in Japan. So there has been a lot of discussion on how we can actually beat these decks, and Dragapult does kind of struggle a little bit against Lucario, but also the other way around. So they're fairly healthy, top two decks against each other. But today I'm going to ruin that health for you, because we're going to be taking a look at a deck that farms both of these decks and also a good amount of the meta. So today we are talking about Mega Diancie dusknoir. So we've seen a few versions of this kind of deck pop up. We saw the Jellicent version, same idea. You just have the Jellicents as your attackers, Jellicents as your attackers, and the dusknoirs as your support Pokemon. But there was a problem. There was no real great way to kind of turn off Klefki with that thing. Jellicent is fat and not really easy to maneuver. So that is something that this deck aims to tackle. But first, let's take a look at the Pokemon. We've got 4 Diancie. I think that is a bit excessive. This is a list that won a City League, so this is probably not the list I would play exactly. I'd probably be playing a switch, at least one switch, but I think this list does have I like the idea behind this list. So we have 4 Mega Diancie, obviously trying to start that. Then we have a 3-1-3 Dusknoir line, because we're also playing 3 Rare Candy. And then double Latias, because you want that maneuverability. We have Fluttermane, which can turn off Psyduck and Golduck. And for anyone that comments, why aren't we playing Klefki? It's not here anymore. It's rotated. And obviously Lily's Clefairy, so we can actually hit Dragon Pokemon for weakness. And then Pheasantipity, because it is a great support Pokemon, and so is Meowth EX, a great support Pokemon. So this is a very aggressive deck, right? This is a deck that kind of almost wants to be swinging from turn 1, right? From turn 1, you want to be ripping Carmine, ripping Ultra Ball, getting rid of energy, Wondrous Patching onto your Mega Diancie, and just start swinging, right? That's how we're playing double Latias. So we really want to be able to try and fill up our board with Psychic Pokemon, use Mystery Garden as a draw engine, which is really cool. I love that idea. And then also use this new energy, the Wondrous Energy. I think it's really good because it counts as a setup card. Whenever you attach it to any of your Psychic Pokemon, you get to search a deck for 2 Psychic Pokemon, Psychic basic Pokemon, and put them on your bench, right? Really good. So if we have Mega Diancie, we slap on Mega Diancie, we can search for Duskull and Latias. If we have an energy in the bin, thanks to Mystery Garden, we can use Wondrous Patch, attach that energy to the Mega Diancie straight away, slap a Power Glass on our Diancie, attack on turn 1, dealing 240 damage, right? And then on the next turn, deal another 240 damage because Power Glass is a great card, right? So this is a really, really, in my opinion, a consistent deck. I have played a few hands with this deck, and it is so consistent. This is probably one of the most consistent decks, in the early game, I have ever played. It has a little bit of struggle closing out some games, but it is really good, especially against Dragapult and against Lucario. These are 2 decks that are, like I said, the best decks in the format right now, and this deck, I'm gonna say it, farms them both. Clefairy is obviously a really big help towards it, but you sometimes don't even need the Clefairy. Sometimes just the Diancie is enough. So being able to survive some, decent hits is good. And some people might be saying, why aren't we playing Wally's? Wally's is a pretty good, you would think Wally's is pretty good with this deck because your main attacker is a Mega, and it's a basic Mega, and it doesn't have energy usually at the end of the turn, meaning you can just put the energy back into your hand with the Wally, right? Or there's no energy attached to it anyway, so Wally just heals it up. Well, that's because you don't really have time for that. Most of the times you are trying to set up Dusknoirs and kind of just checkmate stuff, right? So you can kind of force your opponent to, go through a Mega Diancie, right? And then at the end, you're probably going to be closing out the game with like 2 dusknoirs anyway. So it's like you kind of want to shut your opponent out of the game in the beginning before they even get into the game, right? That's this kind of idea of the deck. It's like, think of it as a very aggressive Dragapult EX, right? It is just a more aggressive Dragapult EX that can hit very hard thanks to the 240, and then even harder with the Dusknoir, or it can just spread that damage around. Right, now, nice thing with this deck is that you can also attack with something like the Latias, something like the Clefairy, right? These are all cards you can attack with, even the Fluttermane, right? Even the Dusknoir itself, these are all cards you can attack with because Wondrous Patch is such a nice card, right? And you would think a deck like this loses a lot through Nest Ball, but it actually doesn't because of this new Psychic Energy. And like I said, I can't stress enough how good Mystery Garden is for this deck, because usually your bench will be 5 or 6 psychic Pokemon, right? 5 or 6 psychic Pokemon in play, meaning you'll always be able to draw up till that many cards with your 7 psychic energy, right? It is very, very nice. Secret Box is just a great addition as well, because we have great stadiums, great tools, great items, and also great supporters, right? This is, you would also, I guess, expect this deck to play a little bit more boss's orders, but the thing is, with the Dusknoir, you don't really need to boss all that often, because you can just pop multiple Dusknoir on something, or just kill stuff on the bench like a Dreepy or a Dracloak without having to actually use the boss, right? So it is very good. The 3 Night Stretcher is obviously really strong because you kind of want to be able to chain together your Dusknoirs, and every once in a while you might need to get an energy out of the discard pile, or your Liz Clefairy out of the discard pile if they target that, but it is really good. So there's honestly, like, it's a fairly linear deck, right? You just set up Diancie, and you set up Dusknoir, and you start hitting hard. And this deck is really good. There's honestly not that much more to say about it. It has really good answers. It has the single price attackers, and I guess you could say that it loses to Fighting Ogerpon, but you can still pop double Dusknoir into Fighting Ogerpon and trade 2 for 2 in that sense. But you can also add different cards, different psychic Pokemon into this deck that don't have an ability, and attack with those, right? You don't need to be... it's a psychic box deck, right? You can't, since you have Wondrous Patch and this energy and the stadium, you have a really good core. I think this is a great core for any psychic deck over here. This, and the Secret Box. I think this is a great core, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more of this core in the future. If you guys didn't like Gardevoir even like Psychic being the best deck, I think Psychic is going to be great moving forward regardless, at least until Dragapult rotates and Lucario isn't as good, because something needs to keep those decks in check, and it just so happens to be this little critter over here, also known as Lily's Clefairy, right? This is quite literally a nuclear bomb. This card over here is keeping the game healthy, right? So say thank you. Now, Jared. But yeah, that is all I really want to talk about today. Also, if you guys want to see me stream, I am live on Twitch most days. I'm trying to stream every day now, and I'll be live GMT +2 8 p.m. usually in the evening for me, and every once in a while I'll be live like California time 9 p.m. 10 p.m. around there. But yeah, I'll leave my Twitch link down below. Pop in, come say hi. I won't be streaming as this video's up, I'll be sleeping. But yeah, thanks for watching, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.